All right, let's talk about loans. For most of us, a loan is just, well, it's a debt, something you have to pay off as fast as you possibly can. But what if that whole way of thinking is wrong? Today, we're going to look at how to structure a loan not just as a burden, but as a seriously powerful tool designed to build your wealth.
This is it. This is the starting line for pretty much everyone. How much money can the bank give me? It feels like the right question to ask, doesn't it? But here's the thing, starting here immediately puts you on the defense. The whole conversation becomes about your limits, not about your opportunities.
And this is why the most savvy borrowers, they flip the whole script. They don't start with the amount of the loan. No, they start with the strategy. And that leads them to ask a much, much more powerful question.
And there it is. See the difference? That's a game changer. It's no longer about just taking on debt. It's about using that debt strategically. The goal isn't to borrow as much as possible, but to make every dollar you borrow work for you. So here's our game plan for today. We've already tackled this smarter question. Next, we'll get into strategy before structure, then how to match your structure to your goal. We'll look at a strategy in action with a real-world example, and we'll wrap up by asking you, is your loan really working?
All right, Section 1, strategy before structure. This is the core principle of everything we're talking about. You gotta commit this phrase to memory. It's the golden rule. First, what's your strategy? What are you actually trying to achieve? Then, and only then, do you design the loan structure to make that happen. The very last thing you worry about is the size. Most people get this completely backwards. They go for the biggest loan they can get, and then they're stuck with a structure that doesn't help them one bit. Okay, Section 2, match structure to goal. So how does this work in practice? It all boils down to this. The perfect loan structure depends entirely on your financial goal. What works for a first-time buyer could be an absolute disaster for an investor and vice versa.
So have a think, which one of these sounds like you? Are you trying to get your foot in the door of the property market? Are you upgrading the family home? Or are you trying to build out an investment portfolio? Your answer to that question defines your playbook. So let's break down the 3 most common scenarios.
Okay, if you're buying your first place, your strategy is all about 2 things, flexibility and future-proofing. An offset account is almost always a non-negotiable, but it's so important that you understand how that's different from a redraw facility, and we'll get to that in just a sec. The real pro move here is to structure the loan so that this home could easily become an investment property down the road. Trust me, it'll save you a massive headache later. Okay, this is one of the most misunderstood things in home loans, so let's make it super simple. An offset account is like a separate savings account. It's your money that sits next to your loan. The bank sees the money in there and subtracts it from your loan balance when they calculate interest. A redraw, on the other hand, is when you put extra money directly into the loan itself. That money is no longer in your account, it's technically the bank's, and you have to ask for permission to get it back. Big difference. Now, if you're renovating or upgrading, your needs are different. You need some certainty, but you also need flexibility for surprises. This is where a split loan is just brilliant. You can fix a big chunk of the loan so you know exactly what your repayments are, but you keep a smaller part variable with an offset account attached. That's your rental fund. And instead of getting some expensive personal loan for the kitchen, you can strategically use the equity you already have in your home to fund the project. So much smart.
Okay, now we're getting into the advanced stuff. For investors, this is where loan structuring becomes a real wealth-building machine. They're playing a totally different game. They often use interest-only loans to free up cash flow for other investments. And here's a huge one. They always keep their investment loans separate from their home loan. This avoids something called cross-collateralization, which is just a fancy way of saying you don't let the bank use your family home as security for your investment property. It's a critical move to lower your risk.
You'll hear investors talking about this all the time, debt recycling. It sounds super complex, but the idea is actually pretty simple. All it means is turning bad debt, like your home loan, into good debt, which is tax deductible. You take the equity you've built up in your home, reborrow it, and then use that money to buy an asset that generates income, like shares or another property. It's a powerful engine for growth when it's done right. So theory is great, right? But what does this actually look like when you put all the pieces together? Let's walk through a real-world case study to make it crystal clear. Okay, check this out. We've got a rent investor here. Someone who rents where they want to live, usually somewhere pricey, but invests their money in a more affordable area. So what's their structure? Look at this. It's a split loan. The big part, $400K, is fixed in interest only. Why? To maximize their cash flow and get the biggest tax deduction. But they've also got a smaller, $100K, variable portion with an offset account. That's their safety net, their emergency fund.
It's a perfect, beautiful example of structure serving strategy. Every single piece has a job.
So we've seen just how powerful a well-structured loan can be. And that brings us to the final and I think the most important part of all this. It's time to turn the spotlight onto your own finances. And so I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Look at your own loan right now. Is it just a debt, a number on a page that you just chip away at month after month? Or is it an active asset, a tool that's structured to work for you and get you to your goals faster? Because the ultimate goal isn't just to pay off your loan, it's to have your loan start paying you back.